It's the Bush League Mud Show. It's the Bush League Mud Show. Let's go.
Are you ready?
Make some noise!
All right, yo. It is about that time. It is May 23rd. Slade.
PJ.
It's the Bush League Mud Show. Be sure to like and subscribe. Also, listen to us, catch us anywhere where you listen to your favorite podcast. Also, be sure to check us out on social media, Bush League MS Pod. What's going on, dude?
Just another fun week of, it was exciting, I guess, with the announcement that we're having more live shows. So finally, this product can hopefully get better for both brands because it will be in front of people who can actually cheer on the fans instead of the contrived noise effects that we've been accustomed to the last year.
Yeah, we get into it. 25 cities announced. Not officially, though. They did not officially announce all 25 cities, but WWE, they couldn't wait to put this in the opening slide of their shows this past week. Well, Friday SmackDown.
Yep.
Oh, my gosh. It was plastered everywhere. You would have thought that WrestleMania was getting ready to roll back around the way that they were super excited about it. Now, we don't know location. And that's much further down because there was reports about Vegas being the destination potentially for SummerSlam because there's just been the whole thing with Vince in Los Angeles. Vince really wants to get into that brand new stadium, but now it looks like Vegas. That'll be a discussion at another time. But yes, the 25 cities announced. Yeah, first time since start of COVID-19 pandemic last year, WWE. They had announced they're going to be going back on the road beginning in July, and Friday was the announcement. 25-city tour running from July 16th through Labor Day, which is going to bring us to about September 5th or 6th, I believe. And the first three stops of that tour that were announced are as follows. The Toyota Center in Houston on July 16th, that's going to be the kickoff. That's going to be a Friday night SmackDown show.
Yep.
Money in the Bank at the Dickies Arena. Dickies is sponsoring arenas now. They held off for as long as they could, didn't they?
Yeah, they have. I'm going to say they have really started to put in some sponsorship money now.
The Dickies Arena in Fort Worth, July 18th, and then Raw will be at the American Airlines Center in Dallas on July 19th. So, all Texas shows.
Yep.
Texas and Florida seem to be the two states, AEW and WWE, the most comfortable. They are the most lenient right now in terms of their, and everything else is about to open up now with the CDC making their announcements about mask wearing and mandates and all that stuff. But definitely good. Live crowd, what can I say? I've always talked about it. We've talked about it. It is one of the most important aspect, I think, of a professional wrestling show.
And I think hopefully the creative gets a lot better because basically they haven't had to do anything for a year.
Well,
it's been terrible where, you don't have a live crowd. You're playing to Vince, as you always allude to.
Crowd of one.
The crowd of one.
Yeah.
And now you're going to actually have to
You can't hide behind the piped-in crowd noise in terms of who gets the cheers, who gets the boos.
Yeah,
and I think because of that, going through that for so long, we know how professional wrestling fans are these days. They love to hijack shows.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
So it will. I'm guessing there's going to be some reverse psychology, not just, because I think there are certain individuals that I've said that I think they would get a pop, and we saw Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. He got a pop.
Yep.
I think of him and they are really trying so hard for him to be a heel, but I think the fans like this Bobby Lashley.
Yeah.
And they still pipe in boos, but I think the crowd would legitimately cheer him. Now, there will be some that I think that get certain crowd noises that just for the hell of it, the fans would just do the complete opposite.
Exactly.
Being that it's a live show and there's nothing you can do to mask that, so.
Yeah, and it's good to have that crowd of like 10,000, 12,000 to decide who we want to cheer for and whatnot. And it makes the TV all that much better, too. I think maybe the ratings will start to creep up a little bit, too, because the storylines have been awful, but at least you have that live crowd to react to. And I wonder who are some of the big guns they're going to bring back for this, because obviously they're going to need a little more, I guess, amped up ammo as they get this thing started and head into this SummerSlam where, again, if it is in the big stadium where it sounds like, if it's going to Vegas, they're going to need a lot more firepower on that roster right now than they currently have.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because there is a John Cena update.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there have been talks already that he might be returning soon, just didn't know exactly when. He's itching to get back in some capacity. We talked about that about an episode or two ago. But there's been some unconfirmed rumors going around that on Friday that's saying that Cena's return, it might be when they hit the road in July, and it could be Money in the Bank weekend. It could be the SmackDown leading up to it. It could be. So they're expecting that John Cena could be showing up for one of these first couple of live crowd shows.
Well, according to YouTube, he showed up as Elvis Zombie with the zombie match at the pay-per-view, according to my kids in YouTube.
But they didn't notice Scotty Too Hottie out there.
No, of course not. But thanks to someone on YouTube, they said, yes, the Elvis Zombie that was filmed backstage before the big zombie lumberjack match, which just sounds so damn ridiculous to say right now. Yeah, they say, oh, that was Cena. But no, he's into, you got to tie in, he's got a couple projects to promote. Fast and Furious, that's going to be hitting the screens here soon. Also, Suicide Squad later on this summer. So, get him on there, do a little tie-in with that as well. I don't know what his availability, though, is going to be because obviously he's going to be pushing those two big projects coming up.
He's going to be executive producer, and he's part of the project, the Evil show, the WWE Evil on Peacock. So, yeah, July 16th is what they're saying. Cena could be there for SmackDown on Fox.
Fox wants that.
Yeah, Fox would not turn that down. Now, John Cena, speaking of which, there's a couple things related to him that I'd like to get out of the way and talk about here on the podcast. The Bush League Mud Show, by the way, broadcasting here in the dungeon with Dizzy Course Studios producer Nate doing his thing, looking at the levels and some clock on his phone right now. What is that, Nate? Just a little countdown?
That is the countdown to me going to the bathroom. Maybe I have no idea. Get back to Cena.
So with Cena, of course, arguably one of the greatest stars that Vince has had roll through that company. There's been someone that we've noticed for several years has not really been in the world title picture, and this came up this week. Shinsuke Nakamura was interviewed, and there was talks that there's potentially a botched move in a number one contenders match. If you remember, this is the last time, dude, that Nakamura that we really saw in a prominent position in the company. He and Cena, they squared off in a number one contenders match on SmackDown. And Nakamura won clean.
Okay.
Well, this is a part that I forgot about that match. Apparently, there was a part where there was a botched move against Cena, and people are saying that is the reason that Nakamura's push came stunted a little bit. So Nakamura, Rich Stambolian of Mad Men Podcast, he gave his take on why WWE likely went cold on it. And he said, well, AJ is the one that is so talented. He's been around more. That he clawed his way to his spot. With Nakamura, I want to say it was that John Cena match where he dumped Cena on his head and somebody in the back went, hey, you can't hurt a top guy.
Okay.
Now, Nakamura, again, this match was August 1st, 2017. I can't believe that's been almost 4 years ago.
It's been a while.
But the move that's in question, there was a move during the match where Nakamura, it was a botched exploder suplex.
Okay. Now it's starting to come back. Yep. I thought it was an exploder suplex.
Yeah, and Cena landed on his neck, and I had to go back and watch it. Very reminiscent to Ricky Starks with the match against Hangman Page a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
So in an interview with Gorilla Position, Nakamura had claimed that people backstage were very upset at him as well, and that he even feared it so far as to thinking that he was going to get fired by the company because of that.
Oh, jeez.
Nakamura said, quote, they were so pissed off at me, like, why did you do that? Because Nakamura just did it on purpose, apparently.
Yeah.
I thought my WWE career was finished that day, but everybody came to support me, even John Cena. He said that Cena said it wasn't his fault; it was my fault. So, so that was the end of that. There's nothing really much more to add to that. I mean, cynically, you would think that there's some validity to that story because it was at that. I mean, he was coming off the loss at Mania.
But he was still in that top picture.
But he was still, and then that was pretty much it as far as from what I remember. He lost the title match. He never won the title, never got back after winning the Rumble that year. So,
and I think they took that move away from him for a while. I mean, I remember watching some matches after that. He did not attempt that move for quite some time. So I think that was part of it too, is, when you hear the stories, they tell guys don't do this or don't do that. I think that was part of the punishment too, is you get that move out of your set right now.
Yeah. And still on John Cena, the WWE, there's new content for Peacock that had been announced, and they put down a big rundown list of shows. I'm not really going to get into that right now because the only one that I'm really interested in, there will be a WWE Untold series about the Nexus.
Oh, okay, this should be good.
Yes, there's that's gonna be premiering on June 13th, and the reason why I'm the most interested, and I think a lot of fans will be very interested, because we're hoping.
Yeah.
Now, being that WWE can control the narrative on this, we're not very. It's doubtful that we're going to know the complete story. And I know you've been a listener of Arn Anderson's podcast,
I was going to mention
and there's been other stories that have floated around. But the Nexus, it is very interesting because that was one of the last things of shock value that I can really recall in that company. That was, I was just thinking about this the other day. That was about 11 years ago.
11 years ago.
11 years ago. And unfortunately, at the end of the day, no one got over.
Well,
there was supposed to be.
Except one guy. The guy they fired.
The guy that, let me take that back.
Yeah.
Let me refrain from that.
Yeah.
Correction. That was a mistake. That wasn't planned by the company.
Correct.
They didn't think they had that.
Correct.
So if you are not familiar with the story of the Nexus, what the promotion is now, NXT. Well, NXT originally started off as the company's reality show.
Yes,
it was NXT. Yeah. We took, at that time, FCW was still their NXT. That was their feeder system to the main roster. And what they decided, and it was a neat idea, because at that time, unless you were in that Florida area and you could see FCW on television or satellite, whatever, you didn't know really who these guys were. So they were protected in terms of their identity. Well, the NXT show was premiering immediately a week after the final episode of ECW. They were finally ditching that thing. They had Vince McMahon come out that night for ECW and announce that was going to be their final episode, and that the very next week they were going to do the show. So you had 8 guys from FCW who were competing to basically just win this competition. And I don't remember exactly what the ultimate prize reward was, but, you had your contenders. You had Bryan Danielson, who was going by Daniel Bryan, and they were able to cook up a nice, lengthy storyline that ended up being rehashed years later with he and The Miz. So these 8 FCW competitors were matched with WWE pros to be mentors and get them through this competition. So you had a Bryan Danielson, or Daniel Bryan now. You had a Heath Slater. You had a Wade Barrett. You had a
Husky
Harris, who is now Bray Wyatt. You had Michael Tarver. You had Justin Gabriel. You had
Otunga, right?
David Otunga. Yep. Absolutely. So you had these guys in this competition. And, you could watch this thing and you could tell early on who the future stars were going to be. I liked the outgoing personality of a Slater. I didn't think he'd ever be a top guy. Everyone knew, big-time wrestling fans knew who Danielson was.
Yes.
Wade Barrett had a complete package. Otunga had a great physique. He had that great Vince body.
Yes, he did.
And so there was, and they told stories during the competition, and it was just... It was a really good competition. Well, the competition season 1 goes off. We don't see these guys for about a week or 2, maybe a little bit longer. I don't remember exactly the time gap. But all of a sudden, one night on Raw, there's a main event match. John Cena's involved. And all of a sudden, we see those 8 guys circle the ring and just all hell breaks loose.
Yes.
And they just tear this whole place up. They tear the ring apart. They beat up John Cena, not to take a page out of Styles in the Good Brothers book, but they beat up John Cena. They beat up the camera crew. They beat up Justin Roberts. Daniel Bryan gets fired because he's choking out Justin Roberts with a tie, and he didn't know that he couldn't do that. None of the fans knew I didn't know that they couldn't do that. All I knew of was the forbidden move was you couldn't whack anyone over the head anymore with a chair.
Yeah, no more chair shots.
That was all that I knew. I didn't know that you couldn't fake choke someone out with a damn tie. Well, anyways, that crowd that night, they were silent. I mean, you could have heard a pin drop in the arena after they had done their damage, and then they come out the next week. And boom, we're off and running. We have these 8 guys. This was like the way they put it together. It was like NWO on crack. You got 8 guys. Yeah. And they're just coming out, and they're immediately catapulted to feuding with the Superman of the company, and it generated legitimate babyface versus heel type. And Cena was actually getting legitimate babyface cheers during this feud. Finally. Because we had been trying to do that for a while. We did it earlier in the year with Batista. Yeah. Batista did great heel work on the way out, and then he needed someone else to work with, and this was building into a SummerSlam match. Now, the story, because this ended up being a SummerSlam match where it was 8-on-8, so 16 men. It was Cena gathering his Avengers, if you will, of WWE. Assemble his and who we have in this team. We had Edge, we had Orton, we had Morrison. That's right. Truth. Yeah, at the time, Morrison. Believe it or not, people, Morrison and Truth were getting a good push at that time. Yes, they were. They were in the world title picture. Anyways, this match goes on, and the story come out. I will let you take it from there, because the story was backstage, and I remember Edge and I believe Jericho, and it might have been CM Punk. I know Edge for sure was one of the people that absolutely vouched hard and said the Nexus have to go over. Yeah. Oh, it was the guys in that match. Yes, Edge told Cena, we have to let them go over, or else they're dead.
Yes. So, apparently the story goes, and like we said before, the Iron Show, shout out to them. They do a good job of talking about that. Now, Arn obviously was an agent for Cena for a long time, and I'm not going to say the words, take the words from him on the story or not, because he didn't really come out and say that John said they've got, he needs to win this match to keep him strong or whatever. But yes, a decision was made backstage that this new group, as Arn would say, they got to cut off their water because they were too strong. So Cena would have to be the one to win the match, which again, as everyone is saying, no, you just hot-shotted these guys. Yeah. What are they going to do after this if you already put a huge loss? And they did what you needed them to do, is shock the audience and everything else. That's all of a sudden you're just going to kill them within a couple months. I know Arn said that thing could have ran for a couple years. Now, of course, they tried it with the CM Punk thing and everything. That was not the same incarnation.
And my big thing was that it wasn't like this was WrestleMania.
No.
And we always hear about Vince wants to send people home happy with WrestleMania, the WrestleMania happily ever after ending.
Yeah.
And no disrespect, I love SummerSlam. But this was SummerSlam. You could have let those guys get over, generated even more heat.
Yes.
Have the crowd think, my gosh, these guys are so strong. What the hell is Cena going to have to do? Because we knew at the end Cena was going to prevail in some way. Didn't have to be that match. And Edge and Christian have talked, and that's what it was. It was the Edge and Christian podcast, and Edge has said that he vouched so hard, and he told John Cena, we have to let those guys go over. If we don't, they're going to be dead. Yeah. And they just got started.
Yeah.
Now, Cena's always said that it wasn't, at least from what I understand, Cena said it wasn't his call either, that was a Vince call.
Yes.
Cena later years down the road, explained that he regretted that they didn't go over that match. He wishes that it would have been different. So,
and again, it was a strange to do an 8-man at SummerSlam. That's more of a Survivor Series match, but they threw it all together so quick. I think that's part of the creative and the frustration too, probably from everyone involved.
It was built very well.
Yeah, but why are we doing that at SummerSlam when that is more of a Survivor Series type match?
It was actually a really good SummerSlam that year, too, 2010. Yeah. Very well marketed. And the reason why I know that is because I collected all of these 7-Eleven SummerSlam cups.
You got your Slurpees that summer?
Oh, my gosh. Those cups were amazing. I still have those cups.
Oh, is this you had the hookup, though, if I remember this story, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
I had a friend that worked, and he let me know each week what cups that they were getting in. So I believe, was there 4? There might have been more than that. No. There was more than that. I think there might have been 6 to 8 cups. I don't know. I don't remember. I still have them. I just haven't pulled them out in a while. But I had an Orton, I had a Kofi, a Big Show, a Taker, Eve Mendez when she had one. It might have just been those 5. I don't remember. I don't believe Punk had one that year.
That's probably what led to the pipe bomb.
Yes, could
next year.
He wasn't on the 7-Eleven cups. But so Nexus after that loss, it was, if you remember, they had also done the angle where if they beat Cena, he was supposed to leave.
Yes,
and he was in the crowd the next week.
Yes, exactly. He was not gone long. It was like a week or 2.
So the Nexus immediately looked like the putties from Power Rangers that had absolutely no impact whatsoever. They were just there as bodies to be a distraction to just kind of, cover for the bad guy.
Yes.
Which so they ended up kicking Barrett as the leader out of the group. CM Punk takes over, didn't do anything, and then they split up the Nexus. 4 go one way and stay Nexus. The other 4, with Barrett, they go to SmackDown to create a group called The Core.
Oh, that's right.
That didn't do anything. And then we just continued. Guys continued to drop off. Daniel Bryan was the biggest star out of that, but it was by accident. He was a guy I don't think that they were planning on doing.
Plans.
They didn't have that kind of plan. Barrett feuded for a while with Orton. They had a good feud. Barrett unfortunately got hurt pretty badly in a match. I believe it was a Battle Royal match where he jacked his arm up pretty bad. Came back, won King of the Ring, became King Barrett. Then bad news.
The bad news was kind of a redemption there, but they never went. It was, that time period too is when they just didn't believe in guys getting themselves over, because you had Damian Sandow and Barrett like at the same kind of time frame.
If they didn't have particular plans for you, and that's even to this day, right? That's been the perception. Even if they don't have plans for you and you get over, now they're pissed at you.
Correct. Yeah, we've heard that here the last couple of weeks. So, if they didn't plan the storyline, or if the writers didn't, they got a little pissed off that you got it organically over. I mean, Sandow, thinking of that, he got over like twice. And the second one was when he was just Miz's stunt double, which was fantastic. But again, if the writers didn't come up with it, and they were pissed.
Yeah. So the Nexus, I can't wait for that. That's WWE Untold. It's going to be June 13th, premiering on the Peacock Network. Daniel Bryan went on to be the star. Wade Barrett's now a commentator in NXT.
Yeah, Barrett had all the tools. I mean, he had the promo skills, he had the look. Like we said, I mean, they put him in the King Barrett gimmick, which again, just rehash that. But I mean, he was the one, but they just didn't push him in injuries or whatever they got down on him for.
Now, Impact Wrestling, you're probably like, why the hell are we talking about Impact this early in the podcast? Why are you guys even talking about Impact?
Somebody must have got shot again.
Well, Impact Wrestling, they were running some teasers this past week for their upcoming Slammiversary.
It's the annual tradition now.
Yes, that was always their WrestleMania Super Bowl type pay-per-view. You wouldn't know that, being that no one's really watching TNA anymore. But Impact Wrestling, they recently released a video Thursday, as a matter of fact. They were teasing the signing of several former, now future Endeavor WWE superstars, including Daniel Bryan. Now, I watched this. They showed images of talent that have worked there before. The two most noticeable, Samoa Joe and Mickie James.
Okay.
Now, there was no, the video showed an image relating to Daniel Bryan. It wasn't a photo of him. He never worked there.
Yeah.
But it was a picture. It was a clip they snuck in there that had the yeses all over. So they're trying to tease people that he could potentially show up. Technically, his contract, according to reports, did officially expire.
Yes.
So
it's the 90-day. Because they did this last year, too.
Correct. They did.
They timed it out with the 90 days, and I give them credit for it because, if you're trying to get more eyes on this, this is a good way to do it.
Yeah, he is free. Technically, he is free to sign with any promotion, being that be Impact, could be New Japan, could be Ring of Honor, AEW, wherever. You go with AAA, wherever. So the Slammiversary is going to be scheduled for July 17th. And you're right, they did do this last year.
Because was it Eric Young, if I remember last year?
Eric Young, Heath Slater, and the Good Brothers.
That's right, yeah.
Those were
the big ones.
So most likely, Daniel Bryan, or Bryan Danielson, we can call him that now, being that he's technically not he most likely will not be showing.
Oh, you're not buying it? Oh, come on.
I could see Mickie James.
Yeah, I could see that one.
Samoa Joe, I could see making an appearance, but it wouldn't mean that he signed with the company.
Yeah, Joe.
I think it's 50-50 with Joe. I think Mickie could very well indeed be there. There's no chance for Bryan.
No.
Most likely, stuff like that. I mean, you're getting mid-level talent.
You're not
going to get the A-listers who are future Endeavor. Not that there were any.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe, but Joe, we haven't really seen work that much over the last year or two.
See, the Joe one is intriguing because, for the nostalgic pop or, who knows if they're going to be live crowds or not. But
they still, just like Ring of Honor, they're running empty arena shows.
So that's the thing.
So they wouldn't do any good to.
So basically, it's going to be the Iconics and so the Iconics are coming in, and I guess Mickie James. But I have a hard time with Mickie James too, because maybe this is the time she just wants to work with her husband Nick Aldis, and maybe she just does NWA Power. I mean, I don't know.
Remember Jake always bringing the snake down in a bag down to the ring?
Yes.
What if Mickie played into that fucking trash bag? It just
and all of a sudden hits the ring and just throws out a bunch of shit like wardrobes and whatever she had in WWE.
Oh shit!
That would be awesome. She could be Duke the Dumpster Drozy Part 2. Mickie the Dumpster Drozy. That would be a good rib.
It is the Bush League Mud Show. Slade and PJ in the Dungeon Disney Course Studios. Like and subscribe. Also, listen to us anywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. Be sure to check us out on social media at Bush League MS Pod. All right, so the biggest news out of the company had to do with NXT this past week.
Yeah.
And it had to do with the...
Speaking of the future endeavors.
More future endeavors. NXT had been about a month, dude, since we saw the company. They had cut ties with about 10 main roster talent between the Raw and SmackDown rosters. The reported reason behind those releases was budget cuts. Yeah. On Wednesday, those same cuts, it hit NXT, their roster, and the Performance Center. Number of wrestlers, trainees, and referees let go by the company. We'll run it down, baby. Yes. Number one, Alexander Wolfe, former Sanity member.
Yep.
Yeah, we officially saw the writing on the wall for him, although we didn't know that he was going to be a part of this, but his final appearance was actually this past Wednesday last week on NXT. Yes. He lost the match to Killian Dane, and he immediately got kicked out of the Imperium faction.
Yeah, very quickly. There was no writing on the wall of this, but all of a sudden, he loses the match, and I guess Walter spoken and said, get him the hell out of here.
Yes. So there you go. Yeah. Wolfe, he originally first started training at the Performance Center back in 2015. He joined the tag team Sawyer Fulton, who is now Madman Fulton in Impact Wrestling the following year. The two then joined Eric Young and Nikki Cross as the faction of Sanity. Oh, gosh. I need to know a story behind why we bothered to call up Sanity. We ran the vignette. We had him come down a couple times. And then, who was it they immediately lost to? Was it New Day?
Yeah, I think it was.
And then I didn't see him work anymore.
Yeah. I mean, they were
part of those. They became endeavored to the Andre the Giant Battle Royals. Those kind of matches. And
that was a group you could have paired with Bray Wyatt or something like. You could have had a mega group to help them over at the time, even though they were shitting on Bray during that time period too. But it could have been something.
I have to say, unfortunately, that the writing on the wall for a faction when they take the female out.
Yeah.
You look at Enzo and Cass, and those guys, they got themselves over, and they were hot for a minute, but they got to the main roster. No Carmella. Carmella was part of the package in NXT with those guys.
Yeah.
They took them out, and of those three, Carmella's still with the company.
Yeah.
Only Carmella's still with the company. You look at Sanity. They came.
Yep.
No Nikki Cross.
Yeah.
Everybody except Nikki Cross is now still with the company.
I mean, she's done a hell of a job, too, to just keep on, finding a role and trying to get over whatever with what she's been handed to after, being with Sanity.
Yeah. Wolfe began appearing at NXT UK once the group was split up in 2019, and then he joined the Imperium.
They made it to 2019 in Sanity?
No.
Okay.
Well, they...
Because I think they did.
Yeah.
I was like, now I'm thinking, that was only 2 years ago?
Catering roster. They were designated catering roster.
That's basically what it was.
That's why you don't know.
Because 2017, 18 was their main years at NXT. And then, when they brought them up, they just shit on them.
Ezra Judge was another release, had signed with WWE after an April 2019 tryout. Played football, college football, Sam Houston State. He probably would have been a Jim Ross type of guy.
Maybe, yeah.
Played in the Canadian and Arena football leagues as well, then became an IFBB professional bodybuilder. That's what we have on Ezra Judge. I can't really tell you too much about Ezra
I don't
Judge.
know much about him.
Skylar Story was part of the releases. She was best known for her time in Shine and also Evolve. Impact Wrestling is Brandy Lauren. She had signed with the company back in mid-2020, so not too long ago, last year. During the pandemic, she signed.
Yeah.
She had only appeared in one match, which was a number one contenders battle royal for the NXT Women's Championship back in September. Vanessa Bourne, she was part of the cut. She had signed with the company. I didn't realize Vanessa Bourne had been there for that long. She had been there since 2016.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
She had been reportedly called up to the main roster in 2020 after signing a new contract with the company. Her debut on Raw or SmackDown never happened, though.
Catering.
Yes.
Once again, thanks.
Catering roster.
Thanks for
catering
signing.
crew.
Here's catering.
Jasmine Duke, member of the Four Horsewomen of MMA. She had signed with the company back in 2018. She had not wrestled since an NXT live event in December of 2019.
Well, no.
She was on Underground, wasn't she? Wasn't she on Raw Underground? Okay.
And that's where I thought
that's why I thought I had seen her.
Yeah, that I thought was a perfect place for her to get over with the MMA background and all that. See, that one, that's probably the one where most people are like, how did they not get her over? Because, she's got a great look and all that background and everything
Legit
else.
shooter. She comes across a badass.
You see
we know she's a
Baszler
badass.
come across. You obviously Ronda. So you're like, okay, they could build this faction up, a bunch of badasses to dominate the women's division. And I don't know if her in-ring work didn't, crossover or what the story is there, but I thought there was something to be said there, and they just, whatever reason, they didn't believe that.
Yeah, she nothing else to add on to that. I think you hit it on the nail with that. Xavier Woods had put out a tweet actually, also showing his disappointment in Duke being released. She had a huge hand in helping him with the Up Up Down Down YouTube channel over the last year. She had been working with him on that. So, and I guess she's still going to be staying on with it. He said she ain't going anywhere with that. So. Okay, so they're going to find a way to get her on that series. So nice, Kavita Divi. She was if I'm not mistaken, I believe she was the first female from India that the company had signed. She had competed in the inaugural Mae Young Classic tournament back in, I can't believe this was 2017, that Mae Young tournament. My gosh, it was that long. She had lost in the first round of Dakota Kai. She began training at the PC back in January of 2018. So after we got those YouTube subscribers from India. Correct, yeah. Even made it WrestleMania 34. She was a competitor in the Women's Battle Royal. Her last television appearance, it came in 2019 at the Worlds Collide event. She had not competed in any match since July of 2019. Yeah, so... there is one more main roster talent that we will hit in a bit. We'll save that person for last. But the referees. Check the DMs on the. We had a couple of. He's so dirty for that. We had a couple of referees that got future endeavor. Jake Clemens. He had just signed with the company, dude, back in October. Well, must have been slow on that 3 count. I mean, that's when we get to the other referee, we know why, but for this one, maybe he was slow on the 3 count. Maybe the 10 count was a little slow. I don't know. How do you justify that? Jake Clemens signed with the company in October of 2020. He was a referee on the indie scene for about 11 years. We will forever remember, well, maybe not forever, but we'll remember Jake Clemens in his short stint with the company. He was the Seth Rollins heel referee. Oh, that's right. And that where there was no follow through at all after that angle. He was like the only disciple of Rollins. Yes, he was besides Buddy Murphy, I guess, at the time. He was Seth's heel referee, played that role on the main roster, and then he was hired in NXT after that. Now his time with the company, unfortunately, is over. And then we have Drake Wuertz. Oh, gosh. Drake Wuertz, previously, to say independent, let's just call it what it is. He was a deathmatch wrestler. Yes, he was. He had joined the company back in 2014. And at one point was labeled NXT's top head referee. Yeah. And then there were reports last week about the growing concern with the company regarding his behavior after he had already been displaying this for about a year. Yeah. They said here, quote, a number of WWE talents and staff had expressed concern for Wuertz's actions in recent weeks, and a number had also pointed to his speech as a reason for the company to step in. And this speech had to do. Well, let me finish off with this. Yeah, there's a couple speeches. Yeah, he put a couple of speeches out there. The reason the company decided they had to step in with one source citing a, quote, pattern of behavior that is becoming increasingly concerning. That was reported by PWI insider Mike Johnson back on May 12th. Wuertz, he had been at the center of controversy the last several months. This goes back to November. Where he was accused of supporting both the QAnon and the Proud Boys. And then in recent weeks, he gave some speeches, both a county commissioners meeting and a school board. Seminole County Public School Board meeting arguing against children wearing masks in schools during the COVID-19 pandemic. I heard that school board one, and man, I was cringing. It was bad. Oh, yes. Yeah. And then the one before that was he had the NXT shirt on. Yeah. As he's zooming it. Now another, I know he didn't have, I think it was in June of last year when Triple H assembled everyone at NXT and said, we are,
here to support Black Lives Matter and BL. I mean, he had everyone assembled.
He was the one that yelled out the all.
Well, he was the one that
was
talents noticed that he was not paying attention to what Triple H was talking about, and he basically walked out on the speech that he was gathering his equipment and walking out. So this guy is he just everything all political. He couldn't separate politics from the workplace, and from all the guys that needed to be future endeavored this week, I think he was the number one just because of what he was doing on company time, obviously, too. I mean, when he show up with the NXT shirt on, and from what we heard, he was at the Performance Center when he was doing that county board meeting Zoom.
Yeah.
He wasn't at home. He was just in.
These releases were on Thursday. We actually saw him the previous night reffing a match.
That's why I'm like, there he is. Guess he didn't have a school board meeting to come and bitch at tonight.
Moving on, the main event of the releases, what could have been a great career in the company, it came to an abrupt end. We had mentioned last week on the episode that Velveteen Dream was spotted backstage at Raw.
Yep.
And don't know what that was all about, but there was not much to it because Velveteen Dream was also part of the cut. Velveteen Dream, been with the company. He's 25 now. Signed with the company age 19. He was a part of the Tough Enough.
Yes, he was.
Show.
Made a great season, I think.
He didn't win the show, but he definitely made an impression on him. They signed him to a developmental contract after they had ended the taping of the show. Quickly became one of the company's biggest rising stars. Debuted a gimmick that I don't know, how would you put it? A Prince-like gimmick.
That's basically what it was. Yeah, to a T.
A little Purple Rain.
Yep.
Chappelle show, dunking the basketball, letting go of the rim and still floating in the air, that type of gimmick.
That's right. Yes. It should have been that way.
Yes.
It should have been.
Yeah, won the NXT North American Championship January of 2019, and I do remember that he did have it for a long time. I didn't realize he had it for 231 days.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And I had some great feuds that came out of that. The one that really puts I thought his best feud that I enjoyed witnessing was his feud with Ricochet, when Ricochet actually still mattered in the company once upon a time. But 231 days he had the North American title for before dropping into Roderick Strong. On the rise. Yep. In NXT, and then all of a sudden the run in the company came to a halt because there were allegations of inappropriate contact with minors on social media. Underage girls, the story behind that, this kicked off with some underage girls that at first accused Dream of sending them nude photographs on Instagram and asking for pictures in return. Now, he denied those allegations, as you would expect. But then it ended up coming out later. There was an independent wrestler by the name of Josh Fuller who had said that Velveteen Dream tried to get him to send nude photographs under the stipulation that Dream would help get him a WWE contract.
Yeah. Just give me some nudes and I'll get you a job. Because, I'm not going to hold that over you, too.
The teenagers ended up posting screenshots of their interactions with Velveteen Dream on Instagram in the DMs. Even though these were never verified or turned into law enforcement.
Yeah, no charges.
Yeah, there was no charges that came out of this. Velveteen Dream had then began to make little sporadic appearances here and there on NXT throughout 2020. Yeah. And then Triple H was saying that the absence was due to injuries that he had apparently suffered in a car accident.
Maybe he was driving with Jeff Hardy. Maybe he was part of that.
Well, you're throwing him low today, aren't you?
Well, just saying.
Wait. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Say that.
Despite Triple H, he insisted the accusations had no impact on Velveteen Dream with the company. He didn't make an appearance in 2021 at all before the release. Not on television. So, and as we had said before, he had been reported he was backstage just over a week ago at Raw. Now, we ended up getting some reports this week that went a little bit deeper into the Dream situation, what could have helped contribute to his release from the company. There was apparently reportedly some behavioral issues.
Okay, and
Dream
I think that was
backstage.
always part of the cloud around him.
But he was said to have always had the support from higher ups in the company. So maybe this was a young Randy Orton situation of, people really, really liked him. They had plans for him, and it just became a little bit too much to continue to bear.
I always remember, too, his entrances, like at the big NXT pay-per-views. He would always like have the Call Me Up Vince shirt on, or he would do the gimmick of him being in the NWO or Hulk Hogan or doing gimmicks like that as part of his, the takeover entrances. So I don't know if that was on him himself, and that's maybe why the higher ups liked it or something, because he was, kissing Vince's ass.
Right.
Basically, and Vince likes that sometimes. So maybe that's what got him on some of the good side. And you're right. This kind of does scream kind of Randy Orton a little bit.
Yeah. Except Brandy continued to stay with the company.
That is,
and was able to grow out of it.
Yeah.
It seemed like Dream was unfortunately regressing, but because of the fact that he had support from the higher ups of the company, that led to concern from coworkers. Brian Alvarez from Wrestling Observer Live says that Dream had friends in WWE who were very, very high in the company. Now, we know Triple H was a big fan of his, so and he's got a pipeline to Vince's ear. Yeah. So Vince, I'm sure, probably took a liking to him. But this, unfortunately, reportedly led to some people feeling uncomfortable about going to management about his behavior because he was so close with management.
Well, is it too an Orton / HBK kind of deal with the attitude? I mean, obviously Michaels is there to train him, but some of the stories you would hear about Michaels back in the day too, how he would just, it was the attitude thing and all that. So did somebody see some of those signs too?
There have been talk about the behavioral issues in NXT, and even when he went to other places like Evolve, they had the company had sent him to represent the company at Evolve, multiple Evolve events back in 2018 and 2019, and then recently there was an interview or a leaked quote out there. Rob Schomburger. Who is an artist for WWE. He had went on Twitter and revealed a few details about his experiences working with Velveteen Dream. He stated that he said that Velveteen Dream, in his opinion, was the single most unprofessional person that he'd encountered in the business.
Oh, ouch. That doesn't help anything.
Yeah, the longtime WWE employee hopes that the release serves as a wake-up call for Dream. Felt that Dream needed to do some emotional work to improve as a human being. So when I hear emotional, I'm thinking like a prima donna, like diva-ish type of.
Yes, that's what it's. Yeah,
maybe, I don't know.
Well, too, we always hear this from Jim Cornette, how he hates the ones that come from the reality shows and didn't work in the business before that. I wonder if it's true this time, where, he started in TV. He was on TV instantly and on the show, and he got used to that, not working working his way up at the small shows, the bingo halls, and all this stuff. And maybe that's where the attitude comes from a little bit.
Yeah. So there you are, your releases from NXT from this past week. Hopefully there are no more, even though there's a story that's surfacing saying there could be more coming. So,
well, I know fans bitch and moan, and they're making all this money off the TV contracts and all that, but you also have to put in mind no live shows in a year. That does hurt the bottom line. Obviously they're not hurting, but there is no money coming in for the last year.
And there are people that they're not utilizing.
That too.
There are people they're just not utilizing.
There's so many
why keep them
there? Yeah. So, I mean, it's across.
Allow them to get out there and work where they want to work and make some money and get some work in.
Because I know in other Vinces, if you're not happy here, we'll just, you can go somewhere else. I'll release you unless you're a top guy.
Before we get into our AEW news, we'll go ahead and we'll run down quickly our Raw and SmackDown shows of this past week. It's the Bush League Mud Show, Slade PJ at the Dungeon here at Dizzy Course Media and Dizzy Course Studios. We just like to call it the Dungeon, just give it that edge.
Yes. It's actually a posh 5-star resort.
With Raw, let's give you a rundown of what went down. We had we had the match, Damian Priest defeating John Morrison via pinfall in a lumberjack match. There were no zombies that night. Though Miz was nowhere to be seen, it was reported that Miz was unfortunately injured. This is a guy who has always been considered one of the Cal Ripken, if you will, of the company. 17 years at the company, never heard. It was reported that Miz, if this is true, then I really do feel bad for him, and a torn ACL in the match.
Well, more than that, he was eaten alive by zombies. He's dead. I watched it live. I had to because my kids were actually into that bullshit. So there's no injury. He's dead. He's going to come back in 9 months as a zombie. That's got to be the angle. They put themselves with this sponsorship deal with Army of Darkness to sponsor the damn paper.
Apparently, the company got a 7-figure payout. Like, they were really thirsty to promote this damn flick.
Army of Darkness was...
I haven't got around to it yet.
I didn't watch it yet. But I'm saying that weekend, they were on the UFC pay-per-view with the sponsorship rights. Obviously, UFC's not.
Or has it officially been released yet?
It just came out.
It did drop out this weekend.
Week.
Okay, so I haven't watched this yet.
Yeah, last weekend they were doing all the pre-promotion. So they put their name as the title sponsor for UFC 252. And also,
did Batista cut an opening?
Batista did the opening promo for the WrestleMania Backlash.
No. Did he do it for UFC as well?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. It was just, that's what I said. We didn't have zombies in the octagon that night. But when these freaking zombies came out for that match, I was like,
get over this, kid.
What the hell is going on?
It's close to midnight.
Yeah, I mean, Thriller was breaking out, but then my kids and my wife, they liked it. Because all of a sudden the kids were like, oh, no, they're going to get up. And I'm sitting here watching this horse shit, and I'm like, no, it's all makeup. This is fake. It's supposed to be a lumberjack match.
Now, MVP took to social media, and I'm not quoting it word for word, but MVP did have a little spout with some fans, or some fans had made some comments about the zombies or whatever. MVP made a statement saying that there was a hypocrisy he felt between, we've got people complaining about the zombies and how it set the business back. That's the new thing, right? Anytime there's something silly, right? There we set the business. But MVP says, well, you guys hated the zombies, but you love the Undertaker, who's the dead man, who's supposed to be the dead man and shoots lightning from his fingers like he's Raiden from Mortal Kombat,
Yes.
So.
And he was powered by the urn.
Powered by the urn, all this supernatural.
Days.
So I don't. It's whatever. I do feel if you were gonna do the zombies at some point, Damian Priest does have like a gimmick that would. Well, maybe I'm reaching there too.
Aleister Black, maybe.
We go from Bad Bunny to zombies.
The thing is,
why do we need props for Damian Priest matches on the main roster? Is what I want to know.
Yeah, tomatoes and now zombie. I mean, it's getting bad.
Okay.
But that was my zombie outbreak. And too, Hell in the Cell's your next pay-per-view. That would be more of a natural thing. I know the movie's not coming out then, but it was just strange altogether.
We also had a match. Ricochet. He had cut a promo with a hat in British, or let me take that back. Not British, but an Irish accent to tease Sheamus before the match. He runs down. Now, this match, of course, and we knew what this match was, right? Ricochet was going to eat a brogue kick. That's exactly what happened. Humberto Carrillo is still out, injured.
Yeah.
After their nasty incident the week before. Yes, Sheamus defeating Ricochet by pinfall, brogue kick. He got that. Sheamus very mad at Ricochet, stealing his hat and the jacket at Backlash. That led to the rematch. This is a
1987 gimmick. stealing the hat and jacket.
It was actually a good match. It actually wasn't.
Yeah, the match was, two great in-ring performers. It's just, again, the storylines that are just terrible.
We had a women's tag team championship match. This was a rematch again. All the damn rematches on this show.
Yeah.
But we had Nia Jackson, Shayna Baszler coming after Natalya and Tamina to try and get those titles back. They were Natalya and Tamina. They were earlier. They were guests on Alexa Bliss's Playground during the show, and they promised to retain the titles before wandering off as Bliss was lost in a conversation with Lily the Doll,
which apparently is a top seller on WWE Shop.
Oh, there you go.
That's why we're still seeing this gimmick.
Baszler had the Karafuda clutch locked in. Fire shot out of the turnbuckle, distracting her, and left her open for the... Can't make this shit up, folks.
Yes. That's what I'm saying. We come off of zombies, and then we do this. That's our problem.
She got a hit with the heart attack finisher. Reginald's face was burned by the fire during the match. And Lily's laugh played in the arena.
Well, I guess she's going more than Papa Shango, because Papa Shango just lit those boots on fire. All they needed was boom, tough acting to acting. I don't know how you solve it now.
We had a match that you hadn't seen before during the show. I wish. Charlotte Flair versus Asuka for the umpteenth
either Kevin
time.
Owens or Sami Zayn or this, but I forgot they're on SmackDown.
Yeah, earlier in the show, Sonya Deville and Adam Pearce, they told Charlotte Flair that she had to beat Asuka to earn a title shot. Flair, she wanted an immediate opportunity because she was not the one who got pinned in the Backlash triple threat. Now, I will say that I do like how they told that story, while shitting on Asuka at the same time of letting you know that she was only in this match to eat the pin. Rhea Ripley was ringside for the match. Flair argued with her, distracting herself before getting pinned by Asuka with, "Would you like to guess how she was defeated, sir?" A small package.
Of course. A roll-up. It's the new finishing dangerous move of 2021.
So we had a match. Angel Garza, who's continuing to shove roses in people's mouths.
And anuses.
Yes. But it was the mouth this past week.
Yes, it's Drew Gulak that is taking it in both ends, literally.
Yes. So there you go.
That's where we are with that booking.
We then had a R-Truth sighting. He was once again pinned by Tozawa for the 24/7 championships.
Who is getting... I know Vince loves Truth in his comment, but... him and Tozawa running around backstage.
It's actually entertaining. They've just kept it to those two, though.
Yeah.
I feel like you could run that rivalry for 10 years. At this point, I don't even give a shit anymore.
I know. That's why I'm like, are we going to see anything different or not? Because, every time it's like, well, there's Tozawa again. I guess he signed a contract and he's still on the roster.
We had a match involving... two guys in which you're like, okay, who's the face and who's the heel in this match? We had a match of Elias and AJ Styles. This ended via disqualification. Styles wins after Jackson Riker interfered in the match, and a furious Omos ran off Riker after the attack.
A.K.A. Tozawa's former
Styles.
ninja.
Yes. Double duty during the night for Kofi Kingston. This Raw was based all around Bobby Lashley and the open challenge
Girls.
for they had this immediately kicked off with Bobby Lashley coming out with a Ric Flair meeting the Godfather type.
My son said Bobby Lashley's got the chicks now.
There you go. He came out with some women. And, he put it out there, open challenge for the title, welcoming all comers. And this was a match where it was directed towards Lashley being the champ, everyone coming after him. Mm-hmm. Again, why Lashley is being considered a heel is beyond me, because we had nothing but heels cutting promos throughout the night saying they were going to end his title reign.
Yeah.
We had T-Bar and Mace They cut a promo saying that he owed. It was time to cash in, and he owed them.
Yeah.
We had Sheamus throwing his name in the hat. We had this person. We had that person.
Yeah, it was getting a little. We had Shelton Benjamin too, and then
Yes.
it was just like,
so
okay.
what led to it? We had someone pulling off double duty during the night. We had a match of Randy Orton versus Kofi Kingston, a match that I guess, but there's a known history there, and I guess they feel that they kind of did that with SummerSlam. Was that SummerSlam they faced each other?
Yeah, but
Kofi
they also
and
brought it up
Randy.
in the promo
Did they
too.
okay, well,
yeah, because
there you
Kofi was
go.
like, "Oh, it's like 20." Was it 2010 they faced off? And
Yes.
that, yeah, he's like, "Oh, it feels like 2010 again." I'm like, "Oh." But that's what they did with the SummerSlam thing. Is they referenced to that too. So we're just recycling it again, almost a year later.
Yeah, so we had a match of Orton and Kingston. Before the match, Riddle tried to get Orton to apologize to the New Day, which did not happen. Orton had hit them both with RKOs the week before. After Kofi actually won via pinfall with the schoolboy after the win, Riddle shoved Kingston to the floor as New Day continued arguing with Orton. And then we had, to end the night in the main event, we had a match of Bobby Lashley once again. Who's gonna come see the big man?
Yeah.
Who wants a taste? And it was Kofi. Kofi answered the challenge, which was announced as being for the WWE Championship. But then before the match started, MVP took the microphone and said that no one ever said the open challenge was for a shot at the title,
Which was great. That was a good part of it.
the belt would not be on the line.
Yep.
So we knew then that this was going to be a Kofi Kingston win immediately. Xavier Woods, he was ejected from ringside after interfering. MVP then attempted to hit Kingston with the cane, and as he drew back, Drew McIntyre appears to run in and steal the cane. He hits Lashley with it, sending him into Kofi's schoolboy pin. So there you go. For people thinking this is going to put Kofi in the world title picture, I think we got to give it a couple of weeks. We still got to see where the blow-off goes. Does McIntyre... And I'm a little concerned about this because Lashley needs to remain strong, but how many more times can you have McIntyre lose?
It's starting to pile up.
And it's starting to make me wonder if it's 50-50. Where do we go for Hell in the Cell? This is the only Hell in the Cell match, actually, that really merits
A blow-off,
that merits a feud of that magnitude.
Yeah.
I mean, even though I'm over it, I'm sick of it, but it's, do they put it back on McIntyre? I would hope not. But you can't continue to beat him. So I'm going to assume an F finish. An UC finish.
But in a Hell in a Cell, how do you do that? That's the problem. Because you already had him basically, he didn't tap out, but the pass out at WrestleMania, he didn't take the fall in the 3-man. I understand that. But you already, the first time at the Mania match, you already had him kind of tap out. So now he didn't take the pin. And it depends on what they got in plan for SummerSlam, too. If Brock is on the horizon, you're going to have a Brock Lashley match. Bobby has been talking about it a little too much. Not recently, but around Mania time, he was bringing it up a little bit more and more. Yeah. If you're putting this thing in a 72,000 seat stadium, you're going to have Brock. So obviously, I think this is staying on Lashley, and I think we're going to see Lashley Brock at SummerSlam. But yeah, you're right with Drew. If he takes this pin again, now he's back down to that kind of mid-tier level. Right when we're getting back to fans, that would give him enormous pops because, we loved when he won the Rumble, and all of a sudden you couldn't cheer for him when he won at that Mania. And now here we are live again. I mean, we saw at this year's Mania how much they loved him coming out, especially after that rain delay promo he got everyone fired up. But yeah, now we're going to relegate him probably. Do you throw him at Sheamus again? I don't know.
I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility either that they could maybe try and have Brock get his win back from McIntyre.
I mean, it could be that
if
too.
If he comes back, he goes
but
straight
then if
for
you
McIntyre.
give him the championship, if you do the hot potato championship here and you do put it back on Drew just in time for the fans to cheer him, and then, you have him lose it 2 months later, then you got the thing with McIntyre where you can't keep it because they made him look like that with Orton last year, too.
Yeah. With WWE Smackdown, this was catered around what they had announced was going to be the main event of that night, which was the Fatal 4-Way match for the Intercontinental title involving Apollo Crews, the champion. He was going to be defending against Big E, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. We'll jump on that in a little bit. The show starts off Roman Reigns celebrating his Universal title win over Cesaro at WrestleMania Backlash. Reigns' special counsel, Paul Heyman, went through all of Reigns' accolades before Cesaro came out to interrupt and demand another championship match with Reigns at Hell in a Cell.
Yes.
Cesaro made his way down the ramp, and here comes Seth in another snazzy suit, blindsiding Cesaro, attacking him for the second time in less than a week. Rollins focused on the injured arm, so they're still playing that. And yet again delivered a curb stop on the entrance ramp. Cesaro then taken out of the Thunderdome on a stretcher. I will say this. I like that they have options with Cesaro right now. There needs to be, I think that you could stretch a couple of extra matches out of both he and Reigns. I think you could stretch a couple of extra matches out of he and Rollins.
Yes.
It gives Rollins something to do. Cesaro could, and I know you've been concerned about, okay, well, where do you go with Cesaro, after the reign? Well, I think right now they're trying to buy time with him. They're short on baby faces. They're kind of short on true baby faces, and the baby faces that they do have, their main ones, they're going after Apollo's Intercontinental title.
Yeah.
So,
but going back though to our
and
talk
you just
about
lost one in Danielson.
Yeah, but going back to earlier in the show, when was Cena supposed to show up on SmackDown in July? Right.
Correct.
There's your mega baby face. So then now that's going to push Cesaro down a little bit further. I don't know if they're hot-shotting Cena to Reigns, but
I don't know if Cena's necessarily coming back to work.
But if you do it, as I'm saying,
Cena hasn't been in the ring to work a match in a long while now. And he's dropped some weight. He's got the Hollywood body now.
I just thought
he's not carrying as much of the muscle mass.
But I just thought about the angle they could run, though, if it's a Cena and Reigns match. And obviously, there's some discontent.
Well, Roman's definitely improved on the promo since the last battle.
And Roman was in Hobbs and Shaw, where Cena's in Fast and Furious. And we know Vin and Rock right now aren't on the best of terms. So just another element of the Fast and Furious that could play out in the ring. I'm just throwing that out there. Here we go. I'm booking this shit now.
Yeah, but it makes sense. That's why it won't never happen.
Exactly.
Some of the matches on SmackDown. Let's go ahead. Let's run it down for you. Dominic defeating Robert Roode via pinfall. Mysterio connected on a 619. Followed it up with a frog splash off the top rope. Much like WrestleMania Backlash, he was able to pin Roode. What a damn shame what we're doing with Bobby Roode.
Yeah, I was talking to you the other night about it. I'm just like, oh, man, what are we doing with these guys?
Yes. It was announced that Jimmy and Jey Uso will reunite and take on the Street Profits in a tag team match on next week's SmackDown. This is a segment Jimmy and Jey not seeing eye to eye right now. We got one who's still lining up with, Jey's with Roman. Jey was upset at Jimmy that he made the match and didn't talk to him first. Jimmy says, I'm looking out for you. And this is just a back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. At some point, do the Usos need to be the tag champs again? And actually, following that up after those guys had their segment, the Street Profits actually cut a pretty damn good promo to also kind of get you to buy into this match next week as well. But would you have an Uso tag team championship reign where the brothers are just kind of bickering because there's Roman? There's the family. They've got the gold, but there's still turmoil.
Where one is reluctantly wins and one wanted to win to impress Roman. That would be good.
You got twin brothers in which they're tag champs, and one's the baby face and one's the heel.
I think
that's something
that would work out. I don't know if you have the council of Heyman along with that ride too, or if he just sticks with Roman. But yeah, that could be an entertaining package.
Really cool too. So the WWE, the NBA Jam style shirts that we were seeing on Pro Wrestling Tees, well, they've now gotten to the ball game with these WWE Slam T-shirts. Jimmy had one of the Wild Samoans.
Yes, it was pretty good.
The attributes on the T-shirt, very. What was that? The punch was low, but the headbutts was at a max.
Kicks were low, but the headbutts were maxed out, on fire.
We had a match. King Corbin and Shinsuke Nakamura. They're fighting over this damn crown. Prior to the match, King Corbin had called Nakamura disrespectful for taking his crown following their match last week. Corbin was then interrupted by Rick Boggs, who ended up playing guitar for Nakamura's entrance. That I'm over. During the match, Boggs got up on the announce table and distracted Corbin by playing the guitar. That was when Nakamura rolled up Corbin with what?
A schoolboy.
No, a small package.
Oh, that's right. Small package. Yes. It's one or the other.
Did you say small blackage? That could be a hell of a new finisher. Small blackage.
Well, maybe I did.
But yeah, another damn match with these damn small packages. All right, then we ended up having, Nia and Shayna, I'll tell you, they are true workhorses because they are on every show every week.
Yep.
They ended up being on a team with Bayley. They defeated the team of Bianca Belair, Tamina, and Natalya via submission. Natalya, she got distracted. Bayley attempted to get back into the ring after Bayley delivered a Bayley to belly suplex on the outside. Natalya's attention got diverted. Baszler was able to lock in a Kirifuda clutch, and Natalya was forced to tap out. And later on that night, it was announced that Tamina and Natalya will defend the tag team titles against Baszler and Jax
for the second week in a row.
Yes, on Raw. So there you go. That's what you had. I thought Bayley looked great throughout this whole thing. She came out. She cut a great promo.
Yeah.
And was really good in the match, being her heel self.
Yes.
Heel Bayley, loving him.
Yeah.
Then we get to our main event match. This was the Fatal 4-Way match for the Intercontinental title between the champ, Apollo Crews. He was taking on Big E, also Kevin Owens, and also Sami Zayn. Late in the match, we'll take you there. Crews was looking to hit Big E with an Olympic slam. Big E, he was able to counter, connect with a big ending on Crews with Owens and Zayn. They were kind of laid out pretty much. Big E pinned Crews, and then Commander Aziz then interfered, pulled him out of the ring, attempted to slam him to the ring post. That didn't work. This was no disqualification, fatal 4-way rules. Big E, he was able to get free, got back up into the ring. Mysteriously, bright lights showed up, and then there was fog, and then there's a shadow, very reminiscent to the Undertaker entrances, and out of the fog appears Aleister Black,
who we saw a promo package earlier on, or a vignette earlier on in the show. So
yes,
that must have been the one that didn't air last week, and they just shoved it in this week.
Yeah, he was saying that it was time to basically show up.
Yep.
Delivered a black mass to Big E, knocked Big E out. Crews was able to pin Big E to retain the title. I thought it was a pretty good match. Solid ending. You didn't need to get too cute with Black if you were going to debut him. It gives Big E someone new to work with.
Yes.
Gives you, you're not, this is something you could stretch for a few months. You could have a best of 3 with these guys. Now, who wins this first match? Black has got to win, right?
He has to coming out, especially with the vignettes and everything else you put behind him. You got to make him look strong. Yep.
Well, is this where Zelina Vega gets involved? Do they put them together? Do we see maybe a match where maybe in the blow-off, or maybe a second match, or maybe the first match? Maybe it's too soon right now for Zelina Vega for the first match, but maybe somewhere down the line in this feud between Black and Big E, we have maybe an finish where Zelina Vega gets him.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know really what her role is just yet. She's already familiar with doing things on the main roster. You don't need to train her in NXT. You don't need to go through those. You can just slide her right in. Everybody knows they're married.
Yeah.
So,
but is this their attempt to, with these vignettes, to have Alistair more on the mic himself? Because, I mean, he did a good job with the storytelling of these vignettes and everything, and the father thing and all that, going through that. I mean, is this their attempt or their last attempt at him going on the mic? And if he doesn't do it now, they're not going to pair him anyways with her. I mean, I think that's maybe what's going on here. This is it for him. They're not going to pre-package him with anything else. So if you can get over with the mic, you can.
So there you go. Those were your recap reviews of both Raw and SmackDown for WWE this past week. Moving on to the company based out of Jacksonville, Florida, AEW, All Elite Wrestling. Big news coming out of their camp this past week that had to do with the network. This has been in limbo in terms of people wondering what was going to happen with AEW, being that the announcement was that the NHL was coming to town. And a big swerve, if you will. What was perceived or what was thought to be the NHL going to the USA Network, went to the complete opposite of the competition spectrum, TNT. So the announcement came this past week that Dynamite is going to be officially moving to TBS, the Superstation, in 2022. Are they still calling TBS the Superstation?
No, they haven't called that in about 15 years.
There you go. Well, yeah.
Yeah, they're done with that. And that's, well, for the wrestling nostalgists, they'll think it's the Superstation.
Or Braves baseball.
It's TBS. Very funny. That's...
TBS very funny. Well, this might fit in perfectly. Dynamite is moving to TBS 2022. A new show also was announced Friday nights. They're going to be debuting that. But first, let's get on to the Dynamite stuff. Turner Network, they said Wednesday that TNT's AEW is going to be moving January 2022. So immediately, they're not going to waste any time. Once New Year rolls around, the move comes as TNT, adding the new long series. Rampage is going to be the name of the new show. That's going to be premiering this year.
Yeah.
August 13th. That's going to be airing at 10 p.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 Central. That will also be relocating the TBS with Dynamite in 2022. So they're looking to pick up some steam, trying to get the show going before they move on to the sister station. Mm-hmm. You're going to have. Yeah, you're going to have two.
I'm questioning this already.
At least I can say that I get a bit of a break between Raw on Monday and SmackDown on Friday. You've got only just a 1 day time gap between these shows because Dynamite is expected to stay on Wednesday nights when it relocates to TBS. That's according to Brett Wheats. Hopefully I'm announcing that correctly. Brett Wheats. He's the general manager of TBS, TNT, and True TV. He confirmed that during the press call the morning that it was announced about AEW moving to TBS.
Okay. When does the NHL season start, though? Usually October, right?
October, November.
So they're not going to air the first 2 months. This is already not matching up to me. I know they announced they're going to be in January in 2022, but obviously it must be a Wednesday night package for NHL. So you're telling me they're not going to do their coverage right out of the gate? They're going to wait till January to do NHL
you also have
coverage?
to keep in mind, too, that's going to be a split package between TNT and ESPN.
But I don't think they're going to let ESPN just air the first 2 months of the season.
I don't think so.
That's what I'm trying to figure out.
I think you're going to have an open platform for the NHL on TNT, being that the NBA season won't start until, and they usually start around the same time.
Yeah, that's why I'm trying to figure out. I mean, they said 2022. I'm not going to be surprised if they swerve them and say, come November, we screwed up because we're now going to put you guys on here. So I know the other detail was, they extended the contract after the original 3 years was going to be up in 2022. So now they're on for a couple more years. But again, I I think they're going to get swerved here with this contract coming up.
During the call, they said both, quote, both TBS and TNT have an incredibly storied past with wrestling. So for us, being able to put more AEW on to TBS was a natural fit. For me, being able to program these networks as a portfolio gives me the latitude to put them where it makes the most sense for the customer.
Yeah.
He also added, did the NHL have anything to do with it? Sure. The NBA had something to do with it. We felt TBS had an opportunity to be the best platform for expansion, he added. Now, TNT, they're going to be debuting now 4 new pro wrestling specials annually, so kind of like a Clash of the Champions, as we remember back in the day with WCW. That is a part of the new deal that was announced earlier that day when they made the announcement about AEW moving to TBS. That will culminate the move. Yeah. And last year, All Elite Wrestling, they had extended, as you mentioned before, they had extended the relationship with Warner Media through 2023, renewing AEW Dynamite on TNT and planning a new night of programming, which became now Rampage. It's going to be debut in August. Tony Khan, they mentioned him, and they said, quote, it's a pleasure to be able to help Tony Khan expand his wrestling platform across our networks and bring more content to our fans that fits the Thrill Ride brand of TNT and a good time for TBS. That was from Sam Linsky, the Associate General Manager, SVP Programming and Operations of TBS, TNT, and True TV. It's Wednesday. You know what that means, end quote. During the call earlier that day, he was asked whether the Turner Networks would make a play for any of the WWE franchises down the road. He indicated that the company is content staying in business exclusively with AEW. Now, why would that question be asked? What does that person know that maybe no one knows?
Well, Turner owns a streaming service called HBO Max.
And
we've noticed streaming services like this content.
There's no long-term deal that's been announced with the company.
No, and that's what I find troubling with this. This is going to be a hard one, and we don't know. They're saying they're still going to be on Wednesday night on TBS. We don't know that yet with the Dynamite brand, correct? They have not said anything official about what night. And I would find that weird that they would put that up against their new hockey coverage on Wednesday night on TNT.
Well, they're already going to be feeling the effects in terms of their programming. We're not going to be seeing too many Dynamites being broadcast at their normal time for a while because there's this thing on TNT called the NBA playoffs.
Yes.
Yeah. They've had to change up their schedule a little bit. During the Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer, he explained AEW's current situation on TNT. June will consist of lots of changes. Fans will have to figure out when Dynamite is being played due to the playoffs, of course. That's going to force them out of the usual time slot. Quote, so there is a show in late June that's going to be on Saturday, and obviously this week is Friday night. That's going to be coming on around 10.
And this show this week is mostly canned. It's mostly vignettes and tributes and whatnot.
Yeah, so you got a Friday night show. It's kicking off at 10. I think, and then these are Meltzer's words, I think the next week is Friday night at 10. But it's possible that could change. So this isn't even this isn't even written in stone yet. There's a late June date on a Saturday. They're just getting bounced around. That's just how it's going to be. Yep. I mean, that's one of the reasons they did the move to TBS. That's from Dave Meltzer. They're not going to have their normal time slot back until July. So,
but that's the thing. Meltzer says, well, that's why they did the move. No, they did the move because Turner said you're doing the move. You have to do the move to keep your programming on national TV in a profile. That's why they had to do the move. I see. My whole prediction of this is hopefully, they're still on TV, but they're going to be on True TV by 2023. Because
it's the funny stuff.
This the funny. I don't see this as a fit on TBS at all. I just don't.
Well, we'll have to give it a chance. We'll see when it gets there. Now, I will give a thumbs up to Tony Khan for something that he did or didn't do. This is a story that came out. He talked about it on Busted Open Radio this past week. Tony Khan discussed AEW's move, of course, to TBS, and he also revealed that Warner Media had approached him about making Dynamite a 3-hour show. Mm-hmm. Tony Khan said that he rejected Warner Media's request for an additional third hour to Dynamite, adding that he always wanted to use an additional hour for a complete new show in a different night.
We'll see how that plays out, though.
He said, quote, "It's great for everybody here. It's big news. We knew that another show was coming this year. I've been saying it for a long time that we were going to add another night, 1 hour. I didn't want to do 3 hours of Dynamite. They, Warner Media, asked at one point if I wanted to do 3 hours of Dynamite. Came up about doing a third hour, and I said I really believed in doing it on another night. So there you go. I mean, it just goes without saying.
Some of those, okay. AEW Dark and the Monday Night Show. How long do they? There's 15 matches on some of those, right? How long does that go on the YouTube series? Over 3 hours sometimes. That's where I'm going to call them out on that a little bit. Where if the company that is putting you on national TV wants the 3 hours of content, you might have wanted to take them up because they want to keep you to one night. And yeah, you're trying to spread it out through multiple nights. That Friday night show is not, I mean, that's going to get moved around too when it comes to like All-Star Weekend and all that stuff.
As much as we bitch about 3 hour Raws, do you want 3 hour Dynamite?
They have enough. Here's the thing. They've got to build their own talent. They've got so many people signed. They have to develop. All their main guys right now are all ex-WWE talents. That's what anyone knows. The two guys that they really could have built up, MJF, they're working on, and Adam Page are guys that they need to develop. And they're not going to develop on the YouTube show. They're going to develop in front of live audiences when they hit the road and on national TV. You can't say the fact right now that they're building up their own homegrown talent on the YouTube shows. They're just not.
They have them make some appearances every now and then. It's just you would never know.
No, that's the problem.
If you only pay attention to the national television show, you would never know.
Yeah.
And there's so many feuds that happen on the dark shows and Elevation that, I mean.
Well, the SCU.
They never have any payoffs.
Yeah.
They never have any payoffs, or if they do make it to Dynamite, there's no backstory. No one, the mainstream crowd doesn't know. Not everyone has that type of time to devote towards these YouTube shows. I was really surprised that they added a second YouTube show.
I was too,
because it's just.
And they buried Paul White on it. One of your big signings. You have him working that Monday night YouTube show, and it's like, okay, we haven't seen him on Dynamite in weeks.
Yeah. Announcement. There wasn't too much AEW news, huge news besides the TBS announcement this past week, but Kenny Omega and Andrade, formerly of WWE, the match was announced. They're going to be taking on each other at the upcoming Triplemania Lucha Libre show August 15th. That's going to be going on in Mexico City. AAA, they tweeted the following video of Omega accepting they tweeted out a video of Omega accepting the challenge that was laid down by Andrade. According to WrestlingInc.com's Eric Mutter, Triplemania it's going to be in Mexico City, as I said before. It's going to feature a limited attendance. This is going to be the first time live fans are going to be at a AAA show in over a year. This came 1 month after Andrade. He was granted his release from WWE. That was back in March. Release came on the heels of not being featured on television for about more than 5 months. And I think this is a good opportunity, although it's like, if Omega starts losing that belt, then we got to start having conversations about him losing the other worldwide belts. But Omega has held that title now for almost 600 days.
Yeah, so he has to. The collector gimmick is this is
I don't know if we can do the collector gimmick because now AAA they're going back to live shows. They're going to want a touring champ, someone that's familiar. He went to WWE, got some more credibility worldwide. It's a chance for them to get their belt back, put it on someone who's actually going to be there to defend it.
Yeah.
And so, and there you go. So it only makes sense if now Omega, he won the title back in October of 2019. He had beat Rey Fenix for it.
Okay. So, obviously, and here's the thing with the collector gimmick. They're not really mentioning all these other belts. I mean, they're doing the Impact one and the AEW one. They're not really doing a good job of explaining what championships he owns in this whole gimmick. I guess that's what they could have been doing with maybe a vignette or something on, or, we talked about last week how Excalibur did a good job with the Moxley match and that Nagata match explaining where we are with this. They could have maybe done something with him to explain where this belt came from and all this to build it up that this is a big deal that he has all these belts because he's going to be losing them. These other promotions with live crowds.
He's going to end up losing them and no one will care.
Exactly.
Because there's no story told on how he got these belts to begin with.
And that's where I thought there could have been something to build the collector gimmick up more. And right now it's nothing.
Yeah. For AEW Dynamite, we'll go ahead and we'll run down this. We may do match for match. Yeah, we can do match for match. Why not? That's fine. We kicked off the show. Immediately, we had a match, Christian Cage versus Matt Seidel. This is Christian Cage's open challenge that he had put out there. Matt Seidel, he accepted it, took the fight to him early and often. Cage, he countered back and forth with Seidel. Baseball slide drop kick by Cage. Big backbreaker. It allowed him to build some momentum in this match. The former world champ then, he targeted the low back of Seidel. And Seidel then ended up countering, caught his opponent for a quick 2. Then it continued comeback, some kicks there in the match. Basically what happened, Cage defeated Matt Seidel. I mean, this match, after the match, Christian Cage, he helped Seidel up to his feet. Taz then jumped on the mic, interrupted. Ricky Starks appears from the back. Starks, he cuts a promo. Now, this is perfect for Starks. He can talk, and that's a good thing in the wrestling business when you can cut a good promo, but you're hurt. They can keep you out of the ring, but you can still talk.
AKA Steve Austin, they did it with him so much in that Attitude Era.
And so Starks came out to tease Christian Cage. And Starks, he provided a distraction. It made it seem like Team Taz was going to come from behind him, but instead they did a sneak attack on both Christian Cage and Matt Seidel. Powerhouse Hobbs, Hook also got involved. They were the two main guys that did the attack from behind. Hangman Page then all of a sudden came down and made a save, but then the heels got the upper hand and they stood tall to close out that segment. So, my thing with this is with Starks. He's supposed to be out for, was it 6 to 8 weeks or 8 to 10? Or no, 3 months. They said 3 months.
But then he changed it to weeks in the promo. So.
Yeah. So what you have right now is, as long as Starks is going to be out, I think this is a good opportunity to start to phase Taz out of this faction. As far as being the figurehead. Yeah. Because I'll be honest with you, it hasn't really done much for me with Taz being the spokesperson of this group.
Yeah.
Ricky Starks, it fits him. He gets to cut more promos.
Yeah.
He has bigger guys that can back him up. He can talk shit and have those guys clean it up for him.
Yeah.
I talked to you about this earlier last week. I think that's something you could do in storyline. You could have it where Starks just takes over Team Taz. It becomes his faction because they're not going to disband him anytime soon.
Yeah, it's kind of like Nation of Domination when The Rock started talking on the mic a little bit more from Farouk and took it over. Now, obviously, there's not going to be a Taz Starks match, I don't think. But, yeah, I do like that fact. And, yeah, he's a guy, like you said, he's got some big guys around him. He can shoot the shit a little bit more and be a little more cocky than he usually is. So I think it would be fantastic for him to take it over.
I thought the match was a good match to kick off AEW. I mean, they want to give you the fast-paced matches off the bat to start the show, and I've just become accustomed to it. And I'm like, that's fine. It's whatever. I would prefer, I would like it if every now and then they broke it up. If you gave me Omega to kick off the show, I mean, he is your champ. Give me one of your top guys come out and do a segment. No, I'm not. It doesn't have to be a damn 20-minute segment like Raw or SmackDown. But
have you noticed though?
Let me see the champ.
Have you noticed though? They don't do it like obviously they're so anti-New York and everything, but they never have. To start out the show, what's going to be on the end of the show. They never have those two guys do any mic work or anything. And I don't know if that's good or bad, but usually it is when you're trying to build up that main event. Yeah. Like they stay away from that.
We just throw up a graphic and let you know what the main event's going to be.
They just stay away from that entirely. And like I said,
it's
I don't
usually
know if
a
it's
main event match that doesn't merit necessarily a main event match.
Correct. So that's maybe where they need these guys to come out and say, I'll see you at the end of the night. They build it up a little bit.
The match was okay. I mean, I thought they had solid in-ring chemistry. They've both worked in New York before.
Yeah.
And they're such good solid guys in the ring that it was probably cruise control. It wasn't anything. It wasn't an A+ type match. It was solid. It was done. Yeah. It was designed to do what it was supposed to
do. And hype up this battle royal coming out.
Now the next thing that we had, the match was but I did like the beginning of it. We had a match of the Acclaimed taking on Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. Now, I like this match. This originally started off, we get Max Caster and Anthony Bowens. They come out after Moxley and Kingston have made their entrance. The Acclaimed come out to cut their freestyle promo.
Yes.
Max gets on the mic and references Renee, Moxley's wife. He cut a line out there about she'll be giving him some oral sessions, and then they wanted to correct it. We're just talking about our podcast. It was a really good burn freestyle on both Moxley and Kingston. As soon as they got into the ring, though, the baby faces, they started to dominate the Acclaim. That was until a dragon screw leg whip to Kingston off the ropes had left him prone to the Acclaim's attacks. Caster and Bowens, they worked over him. They isolated Eddie for a good portion of the match away from Moxley. Kingston, he was able to fight back, made the tag to Moxley. He exploded into the match, dropped Caster with a pile driver, then he choked Bowens out. Climbed the ropes. Bowens cut him off. Caster then set Moxley up for a suplex. Bowens came off the top with a cross body. Caster pulled Moxley to the floor. Bowens rocks Kingston. Moxley prevented the heels from using their boombox. There was a spot there in the match they were going to try to use the boombox. Then worked with Kingston. They delivered a wheelbarrow DDT for the win after the match. Shivani interviews Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky about their recent actions towards Darby Allin and Sting. It was an okay promo. It was a fine promo. Sky talks about how he was a stinger, how he was a Sting guy growing up, and then so we got that out of it. Sting made his way to the ring. Allin attacked from behind. Babyfaces, they beat those guys down, sending them to the floor for protection. That ends the segment there. As I said before, the match between Moxley Kingston against the Acclaim, I liked how it was starting out. The match itself was, it started off okay, kind of fell apart towards the end.
I don't know why I'm getting this now, but Max Caster is really Russell Wilson. It's his heel.
Much bigger version of Russ.
It's a heel where Russ can be a heel coming to the ring. I looked at him like, damn, he just looks like Wilson.
So we got Sky and Page. Looks like they're going to be involved at Double or Nothing with Sting and Allin. That's where we're going.
And the big thing they built up, even when talking about the promo, because they understood this was probably going to be the last Dynamite that a lot of people would see with the switching of nights in the next week, is they made sure they hammered home the fact this is not going to be a cinematic match between the two tag teams. This is actually going to be Sting's, in their words, Sting's first in-ring match in 6 years. So that we know is going to happen, and people aren't going to be watching the screen for at least that match at Double or Nothing.
A match that I knew wasn't going to be that good. We had the AEW Women's Champion Hikaru Shida taking on Rebel, not Reba.
Yeah.
We've seen Rebel work.
Yeah.
It ain't too good. No. So I had very low expectations. This was actually, it was all right. It was all right. But it wasn't anything great.
It did what it had to do to set up the pay-per-view match.
Yes. Yes. So before Dr. Britt Baker, before she challenges Shida, she sent her assistant at Shida that night. Shida basically pummeled Reba. Champion pulled out her own glove, teasing a lockjaw of her own, causing Baker to jump up on the apron. The distraction had allowed Rebel to bash Shida with a crutch. It wasn't enough, though. Shida used a stretch muffler to score the submission win. So after the match, Baker, she attacked Shida. She delivered a big stomp, or a curb stomp, if you will. There's some rumblings that New York wasn't too happy about that being used. Next, the commentary they then threw to a video. There was a video of Omega and Don Callis approaching Orange Cassidy with an agreement to give up his title opportunity at Double or Nothing. Cassidy then slowly ripped it up while the champ and the former Impact EVP attempted to get him to think about changing his mind.
It was all right. Omega and Callis did a pretty good job with the segment. And hey, buddy, well, you can sign this. We'll give you a future shot at it. You don't have to worry about anything. I mean, they did a good job with it.
We then have the Inner Circle. They make their way out to discuss the Pinnacle's challenge for the Stadium Stampede match at Double or Nothing. Each member of the group, they end up giving their reasons for accepting the match until Chris Jericho revealed that he has doubts, questioning whether it is worth it. He recalled the physical and mental anguish that he had endured at Blood and Guts. Jericho went on to say that it was worth it for the revenge that they will get on the heels. Jericho then accepted the match, ending with, quote, "We're going to dance all over your face and piss all over your grave."
Wasted segment.
Did you think so? I didn't think it was bad.
They repeated it from the week before. They already accepted the match.
Okay.
They already accepted the match the week before when they came out with the garden hose champagne truck, which was terrible. Reenacting, Stone Cold and Angle with the milk truck and all that. They already had the culmination of this. They already said, "Do you agree to a new match?" Yes. They got him to go into the new match. I don't know why the hell they had to do this. They could have kept Jericho on TV. Well, with the injury, we knew we couldn't keep him off anytime soon the week before, but at this point, you don't need to see these two groups out anymore. You already had the big Bloods and Guts
We
match.
already know there's going to be a Stadium Stampede.
We already know what's going to be. Just keep them off and build it up that way.
We had another women's match for involving another women's champ, NWA women's champion, Serena Deeb. She was defending against Red Velvet. And in this match here, Deeb, she basically established dominance early. She overwhelmed Red Velvet early, overcame a pre-commercial leg whip to seize control with one of her own, opening Velvet up for a leg-based attack. That continued throughout the picture-in-picture that I can't stand with this company, but it has nothing to do with them.
Yeah,
it's not their fault. It's just the way it is. Velvet, she was able to fight back following the break. She looked to deliver the just desserts. Deeb, she avoided it. Velvet, she was able to sat down for a close 2 count. Velvet then scaled the ropes, came off with a moonsault. Deeb got her knees up and countered the moonsault, leaving the Velvet gasping for air. Deeb then delivered a power bomb, but she couldn't keep the challenger down. Deeb then applied the Serenity Lock But Velvet, she was able to force the release after the quick inside cradle. Deeb caught Velvet with a chop block and reapplied the Serenity Lock after bashing the knee into the mat, forcing the tap out. Not anything special. I mean, it was.
No, I just wonder how many more NWA matches they're going to have on Dynamite TV with them getting back in action too. I mean, these I would have to think are becoming few and far between.
The very next match, we saw Anthony Ogogo return in the ring. This time he was battling one of the Nightmare family, Austin Gunn. He was accompanied to ringside by both Cody and Arn Anderson.
Was he singing Judas?
No, but Cody did come down. He was draped in the United States flag to remind everyone that he is a super American.
If that god-awful promo didn't remind you from the week before.
This match, this is one of the better things I saw during this Dynamite episode. It did exactly what it was designed to do. Get Anthony Ogogo over.
Yep.
Show you very little of his ring work. This was a squash. Gunn ate a few shots to the mixed section. He was bleeding internally. He was bleeding from the mouth. The referee called for the bell. Rhodes checked on him after the match, got up in the ring, and following they went to commercial.
Yep.
Anyways, before we get back to, let me take that back. I'm jumping ahead myself. Before I tell you what happened after the commercial, yes, Cody jumped in. Gogo was going to do something with the American flag, and then he just kind of like threw it down or whatever. Cody got it. But what I wanted to say was after the match, it was announced that Austin Gunn will be out 8 to 10 weeks due to injuries suffered at the hands of Anthony Ogogo.
To that gut shot.
The gut shots during the match.
The King Hippo gut shot. He's out for 8 to 10 weeks.
8 to 10 weeks. There you go. So he busted his insides up, as Jim Ross would say.
That many boxing matches have you seen that somebody took a jab or a stomach shot that just ended the match? Ended that, and they were down for the 10 count because of that. Maybe Buster Douglas. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Anytime you get blood, it's usually from an uppercut straight to the mouth, all that.
If they do this right,
I know they're selling this.
Ogogo could be a little something in AEW. I'm not going to say he'd be a star, but he could be a little something. This is just a rivalry I don't give a fuck about.
No one cares about this.
I don't care about anything involving Cody right now. I hate to admit that. Cody is in such a different direction.
Yeah.
Compared to the other EVPs in the company or a lot of people in the company.
And this could go back to what the conversation was last week, the disagreements of where things are going.
Yeah, it's just way out.
He seems like he's got to manufacture his own thing. And like we said with that whole thing, he's got to be out of the title picture. It's just bullshit. He's one of the main players. He's got to be in it. And when he's not in it, you get stuff like this, and no one cares who wins this.
Yeah, no. And we know Ogogo is going to take the pin. Cody's going to beat him. I would be surprised if Ogogo won this match.
Well, I hope he doesn't win because I don't want to start eating fish and chips every night. We will be screwed as a nation if he loses this. He's our only chance.
So they go to commercial. They come back from commercial. New TNT champion Miro. He made his way to the ring. He cut a promo about beating Darby Allin to win the title the week before. Then out comes Lance Archer, who interrupts and promised to make the new champion his, quote, Bulgarian bitch at Double or Nothing. Promo ends with Miro taking a few verbal shots and
Jake just wandering around.
Babyface is staying tall.
Yeah.
Your main event for the night was a tag team match. It was for the AEW World Tag Team Championship belts. It was the Young Bucks versus the Varsity Blondes.
In a match everyone knew the outcome of. That's terrible for your main event.
Well, no one explained why Julia Hart, the cheerleader, was with them. Has she been with them on Dark?
They must have been because they just threw her in. They did a little recorded backstage thing earlier in the show, and that's the first time I saw her with the group.
Okay, so there's no word on if we seen her on Dark or Elevation. Okay,
my guess is that's where it came from.
she's actually from here. She's in Wisconsin,
really
Milwaukee area.
okay.
She was a cheerleader. She trained at Mr. Anderson School in Minnesota.
Oh,
Got some work
okay.
done there.
All right.
Yeah, so they cut a promo backstage. It was Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison. Yes, they are now accompanied by a cheerleader who's 19 years old by the name of Julia Hart. They challenged the Young Bucks for the Tag Team Championship. The challengers, they start off fast. The heels isolated Pillman earlier, and throughout the commercial break, Pillman was able to get the hot tag to Garrison. He sparked a comeback that Nick Jackson shut down with a super kick to the face. Pillman then showed great resiliency down the stretch. He fended off Matt Jackson, but there was repeated cheating from the champions. Mm-hmm. Why they have to cheat to beat Pillman and Garrison?
I don't know.
Aerosol cans brought into this.
Shit I didn't understand.
Brandon Cutler brought into this. This allowed the champions to overcome the challenge of the opponents and score the win via Matt's sharpshooter to Pillman. After the match, Moxley and Kingston, then they reappear. They came out. They attacked the Bucks. They choked them out, closed the show, and stole the heels' heat along the way. So there you go. Wasn't a horrible match by any means. I just didn't want to go move for move. We all knew who the winners were going to be.
Yeah. And that aerosol bullshit, I didn't understand. Because then after the match, you have Brandon Cutler spraying both the Young Bucks with this devilish aerosol can that blinded the opponents just a minute before. But yet, after the end of the match, he's spraying both guys down with whatever the hell's in this aerosol can. It was the dumbest thing I saw in a long time.
All right, spray ourselves down after reading all of this news for wrestling. All right, there you go. That was your AEW Dynamite review. We are about out of here. Slade,
PJ,
Bush League Mud Show. Be sure to like and subscribe. Also, listen to us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Also, social media at Bush League MS Pod. And special shout out producer Nate, Disney Core Studios here in the dungeon. We'll see you guys next week.